In this video, we are checking out a bar inside the famed 3 Michelin star restaurant 11 Madison Park, called Clemente Bar. Please join us as we check out the space, try some food from the completely plant-based menu, and of course, sample some of their cocktails to see if this is a place worth you giving a visit. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are back in New York City in the Flatiron District to check out a cocktail bar that has been generating a lot of buzz lately called Clemente Bar. Now Clemente is hidden away inside and just above the dining room of the legendary 3 Michelin star 11 Madison Park. It was opened relatively recently on October 10th, 2024 by the same person behind 11 Madison Park, Daniel Hum. Clemente Bar's intent is to focus on artfully crafted, completely plant-based cocktails and elevated bar bites. Named after contemporary Italian artist Francesco Clemente, the bar wanted to blend food, drink, and design into one creative experience, even featuring Clemente's works throughout. Clemente Bar's stated goal is to be not just about hospitality, but artistry as well. Now, in addition to the bar, Daniel Hum also opened something called The Studio, which is a 9-seat tasting room that serves a 5-course plant-based meal along with cocktail pairings for each course. However, just to be clear, today we are just reviewing the bar portion, not the studio, since the bar and lounge is much more accessible. Speaking of the bar, since it opened, it has been getting a lot of hype and positive feedback, including winning 3 Cent's Best New Opening of 2025 award from North America's 50 Best Bars list, and also ranking 11th on that same list. So I can't wait to head over and check it out, but as we walk over, let's see what people are saying about it online. Now on Yelp, they have a 4.4 out of 32 reviews, so a relatively small number of reviews there, but still, that's a good number. And then on Google, a bit more reviews, they have a 4.7 out of 149 reviews, so much better there and a very good score there. Now for the positives, they mention the drinks, the atmosphere, exceptional service, and also pay special attention to this last review here. He mentions being able to walk in and get a bar stool. Now for the negatives, they also mentioned that the service was unfriendly, they didn't like the drinks or they felt the drinks were mediocre, and finally, someone doesn't like the fact that they don't allow walk-ins, or at least they claim they don't allow walk-ins. So who is right? Are the negative reviews right or are the positive? Well, let's head on over there and find out for ourselves. So here we are, grabbing a seat at the bar. Now taking a look at this menu, I really like the way they have it separated into sections based on how it's served. You have fresh, carbonated, bold, which is pretty much stirred, clarified, whipped, and then low ABV. Additionally, I like the number of drinks. They have about 17 drinks. To me, that's a really good size for a cocktail menu. None of these wimpy 8 or 10 drink cocktail menus for me. The 3 boxes was my first drink I ordered, and it's an incredible cocktail. It does a great job of balancing sweet and savory flavors. It's really beautifully layered. You get that nice bourbon warmth from the mixtures as a nice backbone, then that tahini adds a nutty depth, and the cardamaro brings that subtle herbal edge. The cacao is not super noticeable, but adds a soft richness in the background, while the pandan quietly lifts everything with hints of vanilla, grassy florals, and just a touch of coconut. Balanced, complex, and I loved it. I also really like this meringue-like garnish. They told me what it was, but I forgot. But either way, it was really good and actually complements the flavors of the cocktail really well. I always love an edible garnish that pairs well with a cocktail. So taking a look at the plant-based menu here, I think I'm going to get the agedashi dog and the thrice fried potatoes. They actually look pretty good and have been recommended. For my next drink, I ordered the army brat. As you can see, it's a clarified cocktail. No single note really jumps out. Instead, it all blended into a tart, tropical, candy-like flavor. I do catch some hints of papaya, and the sake helps brighten the finish a bit. The orgeat, though, is barely noticeable. Maybe it added a touch of nuttiness, but I didn't really get it. While I enjoyed the drink, it ended up being a little too sweet for my taste. Now, I do think that was the intention, since one of the bartenders told me it was inspired by a candy. So if you have a bit of a strong sweet tooth, definitely give this drink a try. However, while not a bad drink by any stretch, I most likely wouldn't order this one again. So it looks like our food is here. I decided to order the agedashi dog, I hope I'm saying that right, and the thrice fried potatoes. Now, normally I'm not into vegan or plant-based only food. However, I decided to give it a try. This vegan hot dog was actually really good. The fried tofu stands in for the sausage, giving it a crisp yet hearty base, while black truffle adds an earthy richness. It comes on a perfectly toasted potato roll, but what really dominates are the pickles. This dog is very pickle forward, so you have to like pickles to enjoy it. Fortunately, I love them, but please do keep that in mind. It was also surprisingly filling, which I didn't expect, and it paired really well with their cocktails. Now, as a side, like I mentioned, I got those thrice fried potatoes, and I really enjoyed these as well. They had this really nice crunch on the outside, but were really soft and creamy on the inside with almost a mashed potato-like texture. I also got some flavors from some herbs and seasonings, which was really a nice touch. Finally, that dipping sauce was the bomb. It really cut the richness and saltiness from the potatoes with a nice yogurt-like tanginess. However, be warned, despite being plant-based, and while they taste great, they are anything but healthy. For my final cocktail, I got Against the Grain. This drink actually feels like a cousin to the Three Boxes. It has that same savory, sweet, a little bit salty vibe. This time though, the base is the Glenfiddich, which gives it a malty and ever so slightly smoky backbone. Then the soju cleans it out a bit, while the plantain brings gentle sweetness and the barley miso adds a savory edge. I really enjoyed this drink and would definitely order it again, though my favorite of the night is still the Three Boxes. That was exceptional. So we are all finished up here and our bill has arrived. And on a side note, I really like the touch of putting the bill in this leather pouch. It's really cool, really classy, and just a nice touch. And I hope they don't get rid of it, but keep doing it. So now that we're all done, let's head out. And while we walk to the train, let's go over the positive, neutral, and negatives of this bar. So for the positives, we had service, atmosphere, drinks, and food. For our neutrals, we have plant-based only, pre-batch drinks, can't taste base spirit, and unlabeled low ABV drinks. Now, I'm going to go into a little more details about these neutrals, starting first with plant-based only. So while I really did enjoy the food at Clemente Bar, it is vegan. It is only plant-based, and many people might not like this. They might prefer meat, and there are no meat or carnivore options. So I had to put that as a possible negative for some people. I will say though that the food was delicious, though a tad bit overpriced for what it is. Then of course, they pre-batch the drinks. That's so common in New York now. I'm not going to go into a lot of more detail about that. New York's becoming the pre-batching capital of the world. It's a little bit overdone, but it is what it is. Then for my next one, can't taste the base spirit. Now this is very subjective. This is my own opinion, my own taste buds. But on many of the drinks, I just did not taste the base spirits that were mentioned on the menu. And that's a bit of an issue for me. Now granted, I don't need super hardcore, strong alcoholic drinks where the alcohol just punches you right in the mouth, but I do like to taste the base spirit. I do like to know it's there, and I do like to see how its profile complements and works with the drinks. And these were so smooth, not all the cocktails, some of them you could taste it, but many of them were just so smooth that it was almost like drinking juice. And while that's not bad, they were still complex, they still had great flavors going on, they were still unique. I really would have preferred to know that the alcohol was there just a little bit. That being said, it's neutral because many people do not like to taste a lot of the alcohol and they don't care about this. And the drinks still were complex, interesting, flavorful, and delicious. So that's why I put it in the neutral category. And then we have unlabeled low ABV drinks. Now let me explain. I fully understand that complaining about weak drinks is about as old as bars themselves. And generally, I almost never bring it up. If you've watched any of my 20 or so other videos, you know that this isn't something I focus on. Most of the time, in fact, when people say a cocktail is weak, it's usually that they just don't feel the alcohol. Maybe they drink it too quickly, or they're not used to well-balanced cocktails. And what they mean is they actually don't taste the booze. In fact, I've heard people say that they don't feel the alcohol and that a drink is weak, and then an hour later seeing them stagger out of the bar because they didn't allow their body to catch up and drink too much too quickly. However, this is one of the rare cases where I really did feel the need to mention it. Now, this is completely unscientific and just my own opinion and experience. However, it is based on 20 plus years of drinking and knowing how my body responds. That's why I can confidently say some of the cocktails at Clemente Bar do drink noticeably lighter than expected, especially based on the ingredients you see listed in the menu. Case in point, after having 2 cocktails within an hour, on an empty stomach no less, I barely felt the alcohol. One of those drinks, Doctor's Orders, was genuinely fantastic, beautifully balanced, flavorful, and technically impressive. But despite how much I enjoyed it, I couldn't taste any alcohol in it at all. It drank more like a delicious mocktail than a true cocktail. This seems especially true for drinks in the clarified and cream section of the menu. I noticed it less in the shaken portion, and the bold drinks seemed to be normal strength. Personally, I would have preferred Doctor's Orders to be listed under the low ABV section because that's exactly how it drank. That said, while I almost put this in the negative category, I decided to put it in the neutral category since some people actually prefer lower ABV cocktails because it lets them enjoy more drinks over the course of an evening without feeling weighed down. I completely understand that approach and actually feel that way myself. However, I just rather know the strength of what I'm drinking up front. Also, this is one of the issues with pre-batching. When a drink is made and measured in front of you, you can see what is actually going in your drink. You don't get that with pre-batched. So while I'm absolutely not saying Clemente Bar is doing this, I want to emphasize that. I could definitely see at some point down the road some more unscrupulous bars using pre-batching as a cover to pass off weaker and lower ABV drinks as regular strength in order to save money. And that concludes my thoughts on the neutral portion. As for the negative, well, we actually didn't find any 100% pure negatives for this bar. Now to quickly address the reviews online, we found the positive to be correct and the negative to be false. Now we do want to address just one review, and that's the one where it was said that they don't allow walk-ins. That's absolutely not true. Not only did other reviewers refute that review, but also we saw in person that walk-ins were allowed, so we know that to be false. And that's it for the reviews. So what are our final thoughts on Clemente Bar? Well, we really enjoyed it. I absolutely can understand why it won the Best New Bar Award of 2025. The atmosphere is really warm and inviting. The artwork of Francesco Clemente, while not my own personal favorite style of art, works really well in the context of this bar and really adds something special to the atmosphere. The drinks were creative and unique. Take for instance this drink here. It's actually 3 drinks in one. It starts out as a combination between a white Negroni and a pina colada with strong notes of coconut. However, this garnish on top is actually functional. It is a frozen sphere of Campari, juniper, and sweet vermouth. You're encouraged to drink part of the drink the way it's served at first, then to drop the sphere into the drink, and as it melts, it starts to turn the drink into a more traditional Negroni. That's such a cool effect, and I really enjoyed the evolution of the drink. It's these little touches that make Clemente Bar really enjoyable. Also, despite not being vegan myself, I really enjoyed the food. Oh, and I would be remiss not to mention the service. It was next level. In fact, my very first visit there, all 3 bartenders stood in front of the bar, introduced themselves by name, and told us they were there to happily answer any questions and help us in any way possible. And I was really impressed by this. And overall, over every visit, the bartenders have always been attentive, considerate, and extremely knowledgeable about the drinks, willing to answer any questions I have. So if you're a New Yorker and live in the city, then I would definitely recommend visiting Clemente Bar. And do it at least 2 times. Try to work your way through the menu. That being said, despite the many positives, I'm on the fence as to whether Clemente would be on my regulars list or not. It's definitely on my list, and I will most likely visit here at least several times a year. If I have friends visiting from out of town, I would definitely take them here, and I would even visit for some date nights. However, the plant-based menu along with some of the other neutrals leave me going back and forth as to whether I will put this in that regular category. I think I'm leaning toward just missing in that area. Of course, it's so close that by the time this video posts, I may have changed my mind again, because I really did enjoy my visits here. I definitely much prefer it to several other spots I've reviewed, such as Pebble Bar and Super Bueno. Although to be fair to Super Bueno, it's a very different type of bar, very different style, so take that with a grain of salt. Now, if you are a tourist visiting, then my recommendation is not hard at all. Clemente Bar is a must visit. Not only do you have the aforementioned creative drinks, food, nice atmosphere, and incredible service, but this spot really is a cool experience. Just think, it's located inside the famed 3 Michelin star 11 Madison Park, and you can see that pedigree in everything they do. Also, it's in a good location, close to multiple different train stations, and it's in the Flatiron area, right across from Madison Square Park, which is a spot on many tourists' must-visit lists. Finally, it's not crazy difficult to get into if you do plan ahead and don't mind sitting at the bar. Now, I do recommend making reservations, especially if you have a large party or for the more busy days such as Saturday. So overall, definitely put this spot on your must-visit list. Well, those are our final thoughts on Clemente Bar. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please let us know what you think or if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, subscribe, and that bell icon so you get notified of new videos, and most importantly, always drink responsibly. Thank you for watching, and please join us again on Boozy Explorers.